Hi, Timothy Unkert here. In this video, I'd like to talk about loops in Ruby. Okay, so let's get started. This is part of my Ruby mega tutorial, and I'm going to create a file, and we're up to 19. So I'm going to create a new Ruby file, and I'm going to call it 019a underscore for underscore loop. And we'll start talking about for loops. Remember the .rb extension. My IDE automatically adds that, but you need to add that. Okay. All right. So let's create an array of numbers. So we're going to be talking about for loops, and I'm going to declare and initialize an array of numbers. And I'm going to store it in a variable called my underscore nums. And let's see, I'm just going to create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do 3, 9, and 18. All right. So now I'm going to show you, first off, I'm going to show you an unconventional for loop. This looks a bit like something you might use in Python. So I'm going to say for I in my nums. Let me spell that right, my nums, do, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to print my nums at index I minus 1, okay? Now, let's open up a terminal here, and let's run this. So I'll do Ruby, and then 019, and then hit tab for auto-completion, and we'll see here we print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 3, okay? And then it actually doesn't print out the last 2, okay? So that's kind of interesting. Now let's try and get rid of the minus 1 here. And we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to open up a terminal here and run this. And now we get 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4. Okay. So that's an interesting result, right? So let's take a look. And we see we're using an unconventional for loop here. Okay. So let's try a more conventional way of printing this. Okay. So let's do my nums dot each do, and then within these pipes here, I'm going to create a variable called num, and I'm just going to do puts num, okay? And in between the two of these, I want to just have a separator so we can see. So I'm just going to do puts and then just a bunch of these equal signs to create a separator here. All right, so I'm going to open the terminal back up, and let's now run this here. And now we see that everything's working fine. We're printing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 9, 18. So you want to stick with this conventional way of doing it to run into these without running into these weird outcomes. Okay, so that's the more conventional way of doing it in Ruby. And I'm going to create another file now just to follow along with my GitHub repo. We'll also call this 19b. We'll do a for loop. I'm going to do a little bit of fizzbuzz with you, which was an old way of assessing for interviews whether you could program or not. So let's do a new Ruby file. We're going to call this 019b underscore for underscore loop dot rb. And let me close this out. Okay, so we'll do fizzbuzz. And basically fizzbuzz is printing numbers 1 through 100. And in fizzbuzz, if it's divisible by only 3, we print fizz. If it's divisible by only 5, we print buzz. And if it's divisible by both 3 and 5, we print fizzbuzz. Okay, otherwise we just print the number. All right, so we'll start with a a little bit unconventional loop. So we'll do for in 1 dot dot 100. And then we'll have the end statement of the for loop. And we'll have an if, else if, else conditional. So we say if, and we'll start if it's both divisible by 3 and 5, because if it is both divisible by 3 and 5, it's going to just do that condition. But if it's divisible by 3 and 5, and we started with divisibility by 3, for instance, it would also meet that condition, and it wouldn't go down to the condition where it's divisible by 3 and 5. So we have to start with the most exclusive condition first. Okay, so we're going to do I modulo 3. If I modulo 3, if that equals 0, that means it's divisible by 0, and I modulo 5 double equals 0. So it's if both the remainders of dividing by 3 and 5 equals 0, then it's divisible by 3 and 5. We're going to put fizzbuzz. Okay, we'll do an else if here. And now we'll do a less exclusive condition. So we'll do I modulo 3. If the remainder of I divided by 3 is 0, then we'll just put fizz. And next up, we'll do if I is divisible by 5, we'll do a puts buzz. And then the last condition, if it meets none of the top conditions, we'll just print out the number. Okay? All right, so now let's run this. So I'm going to open up a terminal. I'm going to clear all the stuff out. Let's type clear because it's giving me some weird stuff where it's not showing this. I'm going to do Ruby 019B and then hit tab to autocomplete, hit enter, and you'll see it runs through. We go up, we start up here. 1, 2, it's divisible by 3, 4, buzz, so on and so forth, 15 fizzbuzz, and so on, all the way up to 99, which is divisible by 3, and 100, which is divisible by 5. So we've done fizzbuzz. Cool. That's some for loops in Ruby, but that's not the only kind of loops. We also have while loops, and I like to use while loops when I'm creating worksheets and that kind of thing, instead of for loops in Ruby. Okay, so I'm going to create another file. We're going to call this 020a. So it's a Ruby file. We'll call it 020a underscore while underscore loop.rb. Close out the side panel here. And for a while loop, let's just make a comment that we're making while loops. For a while loop, we're going to need some kind of index. So I'm going to call that count, and I'm going to set it equal to 1. You could also set it equal to 0 if you wanted to. But we'll do fizzbuzz with a while loop. So we'll say while count is less than 101. And if we're doing fizzbuzz with the while loop, we do have to start at 1. And we'll start off with our conditional. So we'll say if count modulo 5, if that's divisible by 5 and count is divisible by 3, what are we going to do? We are going to print fizzbuzz, okay? And then we'll do our else if, count modulo, and we can do 5 first if we want, because both 5 and 3 are the same. It doesn't matter. If one's divisible by 5, it's not divisible by 3, unless they're divisible by both. Okay, hope that made sense. We're going to print buzz, and then we can do divisibility by 3. We can print fizz, and then we'll do another else statement. We'll put just the count, okay? And one thing we have to be very careful of in this while loop is we have to increment the count each time through. So we have to say count, and then we can increment it by saying plus equals 1. So we're adding 1 throughout the loop. Okay, so let's open up the terminal. Let's do Ruby 020, hit tab to autocomplete, and hit enter. And look at that. We've got a nice fizzbuzz there. Same thing, and it works. Okay, cool. So that's some while loop with fizzbuzz. And Let's do some more while loop. Let's create another file here. And I'm going to call this one 020b. So it's a Ruby file. It's going to be 020b underscore while underscore loop.rb. Again, my IDE is adding that for me. And we can also do a while loop and get user input. So this is kind of a nice way to use a while loop. So let's create a variable. We'll call it do underscore continue and set it equal to y. And we'll do this while loop. We'll say while do underscore continue double equals y. Well, we're going to run some code. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to print, do you want to continue? And we'll do either yes or no, right? And we'll say do continue. We have to do this. We have to get user input equals gets.chomp.downcase. So this is just checking, if they enter an uppercase y, it'll just make it lowercase y. If they enter an uppercase anything but y, it'll stop. Okay. So now let's try this. And we're going to run 020b, hit tab to autocomplete it. Do you want to continue? Yes. Do you want to continue? Yes. Do you want to continue? Yes. Do you want to continue? No. And it stops. Okay. So that's another cool thing you can do with while loops in Ruby. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up for loops in this video. I hope you found this video interesting. And if you did, could you please give it a like and share with like-minded people? Also, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing as it really does help the channel grow. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.